Welcome to another episode of Networking Unleashed Building Profitable Connections, the show where we explore the powerful intersection of relationships, revenue, and real success. I'm your host, Michael Foreman, and today we're diving deep into how the right connections can do more than just grow your network, they can grow your wealth. Our guest today is a true expert in this space. She helps business owners and high level professionals maximize tax savings through strategic partnerships, connecting with the right experts, making the right moves, and using networking as a tool not just for influence, but for the financial transformation. If you've ever wondered how your network could actually cut your taxes, build your assets, and unlock hidden financial advantages, this episode is for you. So get ready to learn how to network with purpose, partner with power, and build connections that just don't open doors, they build legacies. So I would like to introduce Shauna, the tax goddess, and I want you to give me a little bit about your background. Welcome to the podcast, Shauna.
Aw, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here because I am very all about having your network save you money. So I'm all in.
Good,
Sounds all.
good. Tell us a
So
little bit about your background.
yeah, absolutely. So I am a CPA, master's in tax, certified tax coach, certified tax professional, certified tax strategist, all of which to say that basically for all of my adult life, I have done nothing but look at taxes and tax strategy and how to keep people's money for them. Ex KPMG from that standpoint was with some of the big firms, basically went out on my own. Actually, yesterday was Tax Goddess's 21st birthday. Yes. So we've got a team over here. At one point, we were as many as 123 on staff. And at this point, we've crunched it down just to my super experts in my tax strategy side. So we're at about 35 right now. And a global team, we help primarily US taxpayers. So we don't do Canadian taxes or Mexican taxes and any other country taxes. But yeah, so that's the deal.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. Okay, so let's get into some of my questions.
Okay.
You specialize in maximizing tax savings through
Yes.
strategic partnerships.
Yes.
Can you share an example of how the right connection significantly reduced a client's tax burden?
Absolutely. Considering we're at about 2 billion and counting in tax savings for our clients, it's all about who you know and how those people have been vetted. Okay. So let me give you a really good example. There is a tax strategy called a captive insurance company. Now, for those of you listening, you either have heard about it and your current CPA has said, absolutely not, that's on the IRS's dirty dozen list. We're not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Or you've met a tax strategist who said, yeah, there are bad providers and there's good providers, and you want to make sure that you're with the right person. So when you talk about networking, it's not only about who you know, but it's also about what do they know, how have they been vetted, how long have they been doing it, what's their background, do they have IRS approval, these kinds of things, right? If we stick on the example of a captive, I had one client, unfortunately, work with a company out of California. She came to us after she was already working with them. The entire company and all of their clients got audited because of the way they were doing the paperwork. Right. So, of course, we do not work with that company. We have two vendors that we like, right? We always try to make sure that when we work with clients, we give them more than just one choice, right? Because I do want the client involved. Do you like their personality? Do you like their fees? Do you like whatever it is for whatever strategy? And of course, it's our job as a strategist. I always call myself a fire-headed, red-haired, breathing dragon, okay? Because my job is to find gold coins, right? So there's a gold coin for captive strategies. There's a gold coin for paying your kids. There's a gold coin for using the master's exemption, right? But how do you know that those gold coins are actually gold and not just copper gold plated? That's our job, is to vet strategies. So.
Very good and very eloquently put to explain the differences between it. No, for a simpleton such as myself, where I don't understand, I don't do taxes, I do numbers. all day long, but I don't do taxes. And you put it in such a way that it was simple terms, but you made myself and everybody else understand the difference. And as always, you have to do your homework. You have to see who you're getting involved with, and you have to see their reputation. And my God, your reputation is fantastic. Otherwise, you wouldn't be called the tax goddess.
Aw.
Okay,
It does
so
help when you have clients calling you back years and years later going, you're the best CPA I've ever worked with. Can you take me back as a client? This kind of thing.
absolutely, absolutely. What should professionals look for when building a network that supports both business growth and smart tax planning?
Ooh. All right, let me start with the smart tax planning because that's definitely more of my expertise.
Okay.
A good financial advisor, a good lawyer, and really probably two different kinds of lawyers, depends on what business you're in, but an estate and trust attorney for sure, and then a corporate attorney, like a contracts guy, negotiations, right? Corporate attorney. Your banker, absolutely key in that financial realm, all right? Especially if you need lending, lines of credit, you gotta have a good relationship there. Most people skip this one, but it's actually super important. Your life insurance guy, okay, or gal, which is not trying to be sexist, either way, guy, gal, person, whatever. But your life insurance person can actually make the difference between you living a tax-free life at retirement versus you working and paying tax every single day for the rest of your life. Okay, so huge difference life insurance side. And then I would almost call it an investment advisor. Sometimes that's your financial guy, sometimes it's not. But the investment advisors, their job is to find new investments because they change every year, right? Which oil and gas is the right oil and gas? Because there's thousands of them, right? And the investment advisor often works very closely with, of course, us, your tax strategist, right? We definitely want to be sitting on that board of advisors on the finance side because, that oil and gas may do really well for your neighbor Bob, but that oil and gas with your set of facts and circumstances may not be the right fit for what you have, right? Building a board of people for sure on the finance side. And then generally, as far as expanding your business, two different routes on this. One, go find the rabbit farmers. I think it's an old B&I term. Who else is in your industry that does what you do, that works with the same clients, right? The rabbit farmers. And side note, am I allowed to be a little direct on this
Sure,
podcast, right? Um,
absolutely.
Find somebody who's going to tell you the real truth, the truth you don't want to hear, the truth that nobody else is willing to say to you. And somebody might just grab you by the shoulders and shake you and go, what the are you doing? Smack. You really,
Absolutely.
you need somebody who can really bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, I do this when I coach and when I do speeches and everything else. You don't want to surround yourself with yes men,
What's the
because
point?
yes men will just put you out of business.
Yeah.
And you're right. What's the point? You need somebody that's going to give you a little bit of a say, hey, what exactly are you doing? Because it doesn't make sense. And
Doesn't
instead of
make
having a
logical
yes,
sense. Yeah,
that's it.
you
That's
gotta
it.
have it. Yeah.
So it's very good. Very good. Okay. So how can entrepreneurs identify experts like CPAs, tax strategists, or legal advisors who can help them build wealth through proactive tax strategies?
I love it. So the first thing here, and I need to lay a little bit of groundwork, okay? One of the biggest questions, people call our office a tax goddess and say, hey, can you do our taxes? We don't prepare tax returns, right? That's not what we do. We partner with CPAs who specialize in compliance, right? We only do the strategy side. And the reason why I bring this up is because in probably 99% of people's minds, my CPA does my strategy for me. They have no idea that a separate tax strategist even exists. If you look at the statistics, according to Google, there are 660,000 CPAs in the US. There are only 607 that even start the specialization of strategy specifically. So when you look at, so when you're out and looking and who should I be working with, right? If you see, so CPA, 660,000, masters in tax, there's 60,000. CTC 607, CTP about 250, CTS there's only 15, 1 5. So knowing who you need and who you're trying to find for what purpose, I think those are the key items that you need to have, right? Because if you just need somebody to file your tax returns, you don't want to get in trouble with the IRS, you're good with how much tax you're paying, you don't need a strategist. You don't want a strategist. We're more expensive than you want to pay. Let's put it that way. But for most people, they will look at their tax, what they're paying, and say, you know what? I am tired of writing a check every single year to the US government, to the state government, whatever, for $200,000 a year. How do we get it down to 30? How do we get it down to 0 legally, above board, right? The downsides to being redhead, red and orange don't look good together, so I'm not going to jail. We're not doing the thing. How do we do this legally? And so understanding who needs to be on that team to get you the outcome you want is actually, in my opinion, the first key.
First thing you have to know. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, it's doing your homework, knowing who's good, knowing who's bad, and everything else. But that's your first step into doing it. And this is for a slightly larger corporation, something like that. But somebody like myself who was a solopreneur, not exactly. Not yet.
You'd be surprised. And I was about to say not yet, because really that's the key in my mind. Okay. So when you look at specifically tax strategists, okay, the CTCs will generally help anyone paying tax $70,000 or less. So you could be paying $5,000 in tax. Are you happy, Michael, about paying $5,000 in tax if you don't legally
Never.
have to?
No.
Who is? You could pay $1
Right.
and not be happy with it. Most people only want to pay what is legally required to pay. So I think when you're looking at the level of even within the strategist, you're right. Where is your business, right? If you're taking home, if you're paying more than about $300,000 a year of tax, you're going to want to find one of the CTSs, one of the 15 of us that are CTSs. Okay. If you're somewhere in the middle, go with a CTP. So it just depends on what it is you want. We've also very much had clients, for example, that say, listen, Shauna, I don't mind paying a little bit more in taxes because I feel a social responsibility. I feel like my taxes are going to help my community. That's fine. I think one of the most important things as an individual, whether you're a business owner, a big corporate, like it really doesn't matter. What do you want to do with your money? Because I don't care what you want. It's your money. We'll do whatever you tell us to do with your money, right? If you want it back in your pocket, let us know. If you want to do charity, we have quite a few clients that will set up charitable foundations and do funds and set up scholarships for kids. There's some amazing things we can do that are all, side note, tax benefits as well. So
Good. 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 Okay. Many people network for sales and visibility. How do you approach networking with the intention of long-term financial impact instead?
oh, long-term. I hate to say it, when I was a baby business owner, some many years ago, okay, B and I definitely got into my head, Business Networking International definitely got into my head, giver's gain. So if you're looking at it for long-term financial wealth for yourself, for your family, for your business, whatever, I think two things. One, give before you expect to get, right? And two, do what you say you're going to do. If I say I'm going to save you $100,000 worth of taxes if you do what I tell you to do, then do that. Don't overpromise. I'm a big fan of underpromise and overdeliver, right? From
Yes,
that standpoint.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is do what you say you're going to do and show up. Really actually be engaged. Care about those that you've decided to make a relationship with because you decided to make that relationship for a reason. You're just going to blow it off. You chose. So unless you're choosing otherwise, just be conscious of what you're doing. Make sure you return people's phone calls, some of the basics of polite society, to be honest with you.
You know what? When I go on it and I go on stages and I speak and I do workshops, those two items that you just brought up is the mainstay of what I talk about.
Yep.
It's common sense, common decency, right?
100%.
And because if you want do to others as others would do to you, right? If you don't want to wait a week for a phone call,
Do
call
that to
somebody
other
back.
people.
Right.
Amazing.
It's very simple. Novel
Yep.
idea. Novel idea.
I
Okay.
do think, sorry, just to hit on that for one
No,
more second, Michael. I do think often what happens is we all get involved in our own little worlds. I've got this happening, I got that happening, the kids are screaming. There's always this little kind of stuff going on. One of the, if I can give my 2 cents on a tip and trick, right? Spend
sure.
at least a minimum of 2 hours every week. I book mine on Fridays from 10 to noon, just to double check. Who should I be taking care of that I have not taken care of? Oh, let me follow up with Bob. I haven't spoken to Bob in a while. Let me just check. Bob, how's it going? Even if it's something as simple as a text message. I know a lot of people are to picking up the phone these days. Send it, Bob, I was thinking about you. Put a little smiley face with a heart. Whatever, right? Sometimes it's the little tiny simple things that just can make a difference in somebody else's life and they remember you forever for it. So,
I absolutely agree, excepting that I do it twice a week.
I
It's
love it, Michael.
okay. It's I do it on Fridays, but I also do it on Tuesdays. And I do it with 2 hours to say it's the same thing. It's the same way because I have a great many contacts, and I either send a quick email or a quick text, or if I'm closer to them, a text.
Yeah,
If I'm not as close, then a quick email, and you'll be surprised at how many people respond. Oh my God, yeah, I haven't thought about you,
it's so good to
and
hear
it's
from
just
you. Yeah,
yeah, it really, and so it just rekindles that connection and makes them think.
agree.
Okay, ready?
Ready?
What are some common mistakes professionals make when trying to form strategic partnerships for financial gain?
Oh, the biggest one, immediate answer is not being clear with what you want and what you're trying to accomplish up front. Because communication is always the failure point. Always. In every single relationship, business, personal, doesn't matter. It's always communication. Now, sometimes I will grant it. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 meetings to figure out what you want and how it's going to fit together and how you can work together. But just going into a meeting and being like, yeah, so what can you do for me? Nobody feels good about that, right? It's thinking about both sides of the party and thinking about what is really truly a good fit for you. For example, Michael, as we just found out, both you and I are very what other people would consider high communication, right? We follow up, we check in, we do these kinds of things. If you as a person are high communication and you're finding within the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of a new relationship that the other person isn't, you either need to see something, say something, is what we say inside tax goddess, but you either need to say something or you need to just be really clear. Hey, it just seems like our communication styles aren't working out. And I feel like I've tried and I feel like you've tried. Maybe you've said something and they've tried. It's just not holding. I think it's best that we just part ways right now because what's the point in us both getting frustrated?
No, most people will just let it go. Okay, he doesn't want to respond to me. I just won't send that email again and just leave it hanging. But it's
Yeah.
better to get a response and get a
Yeah.
positive or negative. It doesn't make a difference as
Just
long as you
close the
get a
door.
response.
100%.
And
Yep.
and really what you're talking about in networking in my world
Yeah.
is know you, like you, trust you,
Yes.
they'll do business with you.
Yep.
And all of those meetings and those communications and everything else, you're building up that trust factor. And as soon as they trust you,
Yep.
then they'll start to do business with you. But until then, forget it.
Forget it.
Yeah, I hate those people that you're at a networking event or meeting face to face, and they
Yeah.
immediately come out with a business card and say, "Here, I sell widgets for $3."
Call me.
I'm
Yes.
like, okay, rip, gone.
I have a friend of mine that the way he phrased this, I thought was the best way I've ever heard it. He said, listen, every single person has an emotional bank. And so you called me, you texted me, you sent me a smiley face, you sent me a cute joke, you thought of me, you saw an article. Every single one of those is like a deposit into the emotional bank, right? And the day you need something and you call and you say, oh my, this thing happened and I need your help and could you please help me, blah, blah, blah. The bank comes down, which is fine, right?
Yeah,
Banks go up and they go down and they come up and they go down, but you're not immediately starting at zero, going into negative, asking for something, right? So, yeah,
absolutely. And what I call it is social capital.
there you
That's
go.
called your social capital. And you're just making deposits to that person. So if you do need something,
Yeah,
you're able to do it. Or again, if you're able to give something, givers gain, as long as you're able to add value, give something, you do it. And it takes all the pressure off you.
yep,
So it always
100%.
feels really good. Okay. So I can see we're on the same level with so many different things. Okay. So can networking with the right experts actually prevent costly tax errors and liabilities? And how?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Even if we just go back to the very first example where this client had gone to work with somebody without I guess it's a redhead commentary, without my permission, a client chose to go work with somebody. And I spoke to her later and I said, honey, if you had called me and told me that's who you were going to work with, I would have told you absolutely not. Run away. Here's what I've heard. Here's what I've seen. Here are the other audits we've seen. Run away. Now, you have to take some of that with a little bit of a grain of salt because, for example, we talked about levels of communication. What if I just had a bad example with that person because communication styles were different, right? It was nothing really about what they do or how they do it, right? So you do need to take it with a little bit of grain of salt, but ask around, right? If I have a bad, when Michael has a bad and Mary has a bad,
The
so
possibility he's
yeah,
bad.
that it's bad.
Yeah.
And so I think when you talk about costly mistakes, you get one, of course, ask around, always ask around. But two, also that don't be with the yes men, as we said earlier.
Yeah.
Because if they're not challenging you, wait, why do you think this is, why do you think it's legal? Why do you think it's good? Why do you think that's the right choice? So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And when you're asking around, you you take away that personal.
The emotional bit of something
Right.
happened.
You take the emotions out of it because when you're getting it from two, three, four people, then maybe you should listen. If you only got one bad and three others that were good, we have to make that self-judgment.
Yep.
But also ego, because for them to call you and say, how's this person?
Yeah.
So I don't let my ego get in the way because I don't want to disrupt any type of relationship that you and I
Of
have.
course. Of course.
So that's something else to think about.
Love it.
How do you vet potential partners or collaborators to ensure that they're aligned with your goals,
Okay.
especially when wealth and tax strategy are at stake?
Absolutely. I was going to say, I have one of the easiest vetting systems ever. It's called the IRS approval because otherwise you either have their approval or you don't. It's my world of vetting is a little bit easier, I think, than other people. There is definitely a gray area where, so in the IRS world, there's something called a PLR, a private letter ruling. Okay. If a strategy has been around for a while, any good strategy will have a PLR, positive, we approve stamp from the IRS. If you're looking at a strategy and it has positive PLR, done, good, fine. You don't even need to talk to me. Go, proceed. There you go. There's your tip for the day. Go full steam, almost full steam. Still ask around, but almost full steam, right? But there's a gray area where somebody's come up with a brand new strategy, brand new in the eyes of the IRS is like 5 to 7 years old. It's brand new, right? They've been doing it 5, 7 years. It's good. They haven't had any they've had a couple of audits, but the audits have passed. That's a good sign, right? So when you get into things that are a little more nuanced, I guess I would say newer strategies, it's you do have to do more research, but that's really where you want somebody like a strategist who looks at these things all day every day to say, wait a second, that piece of logic they're telling you doesn't make any sense because of this IRS rule, or that PLR is missing the approval number, so that looks like a fake. I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah, oh honey, when it comes to getting people's money, people do
Yeah.
some very nasty things, right?
Nefarious
So
things. Yes,
nefarious
absolutely.
things, I think the biggest pieces are of same ask questions, look for an expert that can help you analyze whether something is good or bad from that standpoint or in the middle. I think it's actually very important for people to understand what their own, we call it the aggression scale, okay? So you have to know for you, 0 to 10, 0 meaning the IRS never calls you never ever except for a random audit, which nobody can prevent. 10 meaning we're all going to jail. Where do you and your spouse and your family and your business, where do you sit on that scale? Okay. Now, most entrepreneurs, so 10's going to jail. I'm not doing it. You're not, nobody wants to generally choose that path. A 9 is Al Capone. You're doing shady stuff, hoping you don't get caught. And of course, he got caught for tax fraud, tax evasion. An 8 is where most entrepreneurs will sit at a 7 or an 8. They're risk takers by nature. They're okay getting a call from the IRS, but they want to win. I don't mind going through an audit, but I want to win, right? So an 8 is you might get a call, you have all the backup, you have the proof, you have the PLRs, you have all the things, and you're going to win. It really, for me, that is one of the most dependent things when we talk about what kind of tax strategies, who would, if you came to me, who would I even network you with? Because I've got some strategies that are sitting at like an 8.4, 3.5. And then you got other strategies, we call them the -4 strategies, where a good CPA should know this. Like you don't even need a strategist, but a lot of CPAs are so face down in preparing tax returns. We have a tax deadline coming up here in about a month. They're so face down doing tax returns, they don't have time to read the court cases and the articles and everything that comes out. The IRS publishes 3 times a day with new, this happened, this, it's a job all on its own called a tax strategist. So yeah, you just got to have the right people on your team.
Okay, good. All right, let me ask you a question. What role has intentional networking played in your own business growth and personal wealth journey?
That's a great question, and I'm in love with it. I lit on for a bit there. So BNI. So let me back up. When I first started Tax Goddess, now 21 years ago, it was me in a home office by myself, no secretary, right? I couldn't figure out how to send a fax, okay? Because the machine ran out of ink and I didn't know it ran out of ink. And I had to go to Office Max to say, my machine's broken, give me a new one. And they said, here, try some ink. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Right.
So when you talk about networking and the journey for Tax Goddess, the very first thing I did when I left Office Max, I called a friend of mine and said, I think I need a secretary. I don't know how to do this stuff. I have no idea. I've always been I've been a technical person, a tax preparer. I don't know how to bill and invoice and do all these things. So calling your friends and family. I need help. Joining for me, I live in Arizona. I joined the Scottsdale Business Networking. It was the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce Business Networking Group. That helped a ton. I have friends that I've met there that I'm still friends with 20 years later. So really, I think a lot of it is start with who you know and just keep talking. Keep asking questions and stay curious. For some reason, not a lot, some people aren't very good at describing what they do. Like they're experts at what they do, but they can't, the words just can't come out. And so nobody seems to know what they do, how they do it, how they're an expert, where these things come from. And so sometimes you have to poke a little bit. Oh, tell me more about that. Tell me how you got there. Sometimes you need to be the level of curiosity to really find the expert you're looking for. So
Yeah, a lot of not the presentations that I do, but the coaching that I do, that 30-second elevator pitch, I have them first focus on that 30-second elevator pitch just to get them down to what they talk about. Then I say, okay, take that 30 seconds and break it down to 10 seconds. What
so
do
hard.
you talk? It I usually take it usually takes 2 weeks before we can actually hone in on exactly what it is. I said, okay, you told me exactly what you do. Now throw it away. Now we'll get to work.
Ah,
Okay. And they go, what? I just spent 2 weeks doing this. I said, absolutely. But I got you focused on what you do. And you're able to, when somebody comes up to you and says, hey, what do? You don't go through, well, I do this and that and everything else.
yep,
You, in like a sentence, you told them. And
love it.
we work from there. So everything is down to that functionality of it. But that's what I do. Okay. Just a few left. For someone just starting to build a professional network,
Okay.
what's one high value move they can make today that supports their both relationships and financial future?
One high value move. I would say joining, and I'm going to call it a club, but some sort of organization. So Scott's, your Chamber of Commerce, your BNI, it could even be like a club if you're in an area that has a country club, that has a gym, that has maybe the right level of people you're trying to network with. Some sort of place where you're going to be around a lot of people where you can interact with those people on a regular, recurring basis. Because the more you interact with people, the more they're going to know you, the more you're going to know them, the easier and faster it is to build relationships.
And you're building that trust factor. So it's definitely meeting the people. Listen, I've been part of my Chamber of Commerce for 5 years. And I walk in and it's great,
Yeah.
and somebody else just walking in, they come once or twice. then they don't come for 2 months, and they come once or twice, and
Nobody knows you. You're the random
the
person that walked through the door.
that's it.
So
That's it.
yeah.
So
Yep.
it's getting to know you, getting the relationships going. But I firmly believe that. Before we bring this podcast full circle,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question. You are successful today,
Yes.
and you are very successful, and you're passionate about what you're doing, and everything you're so full of life,
Aw.
but you had to have made a mistake along the way.
Yeah.
And so give us, my listeners, a mistake that you've made and how you came out of it.
Specifically related to networking?
It's up to you.
A mistake I made. In my mind, it relates to networking anyway. Remember earlier, I was talking about sometimes your life gets in the way, and so you
Yeah,
stop paying attention. The
sure.
reason why I have a Friday follow-up day, right, is because I made a mistake. And I made, I'll call it a few mistakes over a very short period of time. And that led me to say, you know what? I think I'm going about this wrong. I can't just call people 6 months later and expect that they still know me, have a relationship with me, this kind of thing. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's wrap up this podcast. And what's your favorite hidden gem strategy for turning a single connection into a long-term wealth building opportunity?
Okay, having some tequila and a cigar with whoever it is you want to have, right? There's something about breaking bread, having the lunch, having the dinner, for me, it's tequila and a cigar on my patio. Please come to my home. Let's sit, let's have a night playing cards, whatever it is. For me, it's the taking it out of the business because business is good, but there's something about a personal relationship that just goes beyond business, period.
Absolutely. And one thing I always tell all of my clients, excuse me, all of my clients is that the first thing you talk about is not business.
Yep.
The second thing you talk about is not business.
Not
You
business.
don't talk business, you look to help somebody else.
Yep.
So that's having a servant's heart, gainers give. It's all that we're all made to be. Okay, so Shauna, let me ask you a question. If somebody wants to get hold of you, either for being a tax strategist or somebody just to call because they have a question, what's the best way that they can get hold of you?
Absolutely. I'll be honest, it's very hard to get a hold of me unless I know you're calling. But taxgoddess.com is where you find me, where you find the team. If it's for tax strategy, you definitely want to start there with taxgoddess.com. And you can find my assistant there. So she is a place to reach out to and check, and we'll see if we can get an answer on whatever the random question is. I don't know.
It's fantastic. Either way, Shauna, this was an absolute pleasure to have you on my podcast. And I hope a million people listen to it because you are very good, very passionate about what you do. And I think anybody who needs a tax strategist should call you first.
Thank you. I'm happy to help. It's definitely my passion to keep the money in your pocket, not the government's. So happy to help anytime.
Okay, good. I'll talk to you soon. Well, hold on, folks. Don't go anywhere. Let's hear from our sponsors. David Neal, co-founder, Revved Up Kids. Revved Up Kids is on a mission to protect children and teens from sexual abuse, exploitation, and trafficking. They provide prevention training programs for children, teens, and adults. To learn more, go to revvedupkids.org. Henry Kaplan, Century 21. When it comes to making the biggest financial decision of your life, leave it in the hands of a proven professional, Henry Kaplan. Henry is a global real estate agent with Century 21, celebrating his 41st year in business. No matter where you're moving, Henry has the right connections for you. You can contact Henry at 561 427 4888. A huge thank you to our guest for sharing such incredible insights today. And of course, a big shout out to you, our amazing listeners, for tuning in and spending your time with us. If you're interested in my digital courses, being coached, or having me come and talk to your company, just go to Michael and fill out the request form. Remember, networking isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. So take what you've learned today, get out there, and make some meaningful connections. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little networking inspiration. Let's keep the conversation going. You can find me on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, or my website, forman.com/podcasts.